Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of the Peach Pundit Podcast. I'm Jason Pye, joined by my cohort Buzz Brockway. Buzz,
hey,
how you doing, man?
What's up? How's it going?
It's good. We're down a person this week. Unfortunately, Scott Turner had a family matter to attend to, so he won't be joining us this week. But Buzz and I decided to press on and
you're in our hearts.
Yeah, Scott, Scott's definitely in our hearts. But we wanted to go ahead and bring you an episode just to catch up, because there's been a lot of stuff that's happened over the course of the last week, starting with just last night. Republicans managed to keep a Georgia House seat. Devin Seabaugh defeated Priscilla Smith. Devin Seabaugh, being a Republican, defeated Priscilla Smith, a Democrat. This is for the seat that was vacated by Burt Reeves, who resigned about a month ago or 2 months ago.
Yeah, about a month ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it was pretty handily. I mean, Seabaugh won 63% of the vote in a district that had been considered competitive, in the last cycle. So what do you, I mean, I'm hesitant to say that this is symbolic of anything.
Right.
We should have like a massive number of takeaways or try to read tea leaves here. But the AJC does note that that both parties spent in this race.
Yeah.
But Priscilla Smith was not a credible candidate.
No, she goes. She's kind of a performance artist, comedian, whatever. Dresses up as Donald Trump, calls herself Donna J. Trump, and hovers around the Capitol and other various places. So. And it's also hard to separate that and say, oh yes, by the way, I should be your state representative.
And she's running for Georgia's 6th as a Republican, or at least
awesome.
She filed a disclosure for the June 30th federal deadline that indicates that.
Why not? I mean, fresh off her 30-something% in District 34, why not?
I mean, yeah, might as well. I mean, you only live once, but apparently you can run for office as many times as you want to. So,
but it was interesting that I mean, so I think the takeaway, I think, if seriously, is Kelly Loeffler's organization was heavily involved in trying to get the vote out, and I think I'm sure they were testing out. Okay, did this message work? Does that message work? And obviously they won pretty handily. I guess over 60% of the vote. I imagine that they're probably thinking, okay, what we did worked. And there was a very defensive statement from Fair Fight Action. Linda, the head of that organization, was, well, of course, Republicans won a Republican district, but Democrats still run Georgia. So a lot of spinning going on out there.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty lame as far as it goes. But I mean, I'm just hesitant to read anything
right
into this race. I think most people who are watching, because it's always weird when you're dealing with a special election and an off year, where people largely aren't paying attention. And I think to some degree people are paying attention a lot less than they paid attention the previous 4 years. Because I've heard friends of mine remark about how boring politics is right now, because it's there's a lot of drama certainly in politics. It's still today, but generally speaking, you don't have to wake up to 40 tweets from a pissed off president.
Yeah, the existential threat is past, right?
That's right. But speaking of candidates, and this is a Cobb County based district that Cobb has changed so much over the course of the past couple of cycles, and it's one of those counties that's going to be watched going into 2022, and especially election night 2022. I think we'll all be paying attention to what happens in Cobb County,
right?
And I think a lot of people are starting to wonder what 2022 looks like, and we're going to get into some of that here in a moment. But there was an interesting report from Insider Advantage just 2 days ago, that's kind of speculating on Stacey Abrams' future, and and the story reads: reliable Democratic sources tell Insider Advantage that 2018 gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams, who's spending a lot of time in California with Hollywood's liberal elite, isn't sure she wants to run for governor. Democratic activists are now wondering who would fill the vacuum to be a credible fundraiser, voice, and face as their party's best nominee to run in 22. Also, with Abrams sitting out, Republicans would have to pivot from their Abrams messaging to new themes. At least for a while, this muddies the waters for both parties. I don't know. Does it really muddy the waters for both parties?
I mean, I think if you're Brian Kemp, you're thinking, all right, that we'll talk in a moment about a potential candidate against him, but Vernon Jones and Dr. Candace Taylor aren't exactly lighting the world on fire. And now, your biggest threat on the Democratic side might not be running. I mean, that's, Brian Kemp's got to be thinking, man, the Lord has smiled upon me, because in a year when, when everybody expected him to go down in flames, everything's lining up now. It's obviously no guarantee. Yeah. Democrats will find a credible candidate who will run hard and be well funded, but there's just nobody in the Georgia Democratic Party on the level of Stacey Abrams.
That's certainly true. I mean, and I mean, I know we're going to talk about candidate disclosures in a minute, but looking at it just yesterday, pulling some campaign finance data. I mean, Fair Fight raised almost $6 million. And they're sitting on $25.2 million in the bank right now.
Yes, that's a lot of money.
June 30th.
Yep. Yeah, and you're a year away from them really spending that in any quantity. I mean, they're going to be loaded, no doubt about it.
No, I mean, it's. I guess I don't know. I just seems. I'm not saying this isn't true. I'm saying that I'll believe it when I see it, because I don't think we can get ahead of ourselves right now, because I think everyone is. I think it's kind of an expectation that Abrams runs right now, not just in Georgia but nationally.
Yeah. Right. I mean, well, look, I mean, I'm already on the record on this podcast saying I don't think she's going to run, but so I can't walk back from that. But no, yeah, you're right. I mean, they tried to recruit her to run for the Senate. Schumer apparently tried pretty hard to try to get her to run for the Senate. She did not, and of course, it worked out fine for the Democrats. They won both seats. But if she, I mean, how many? If she decides not to run, how many times are Democrats really going to keep coming to court her? I mean, if
no, it's a good point. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's so. I don't know. I mean, just talking to people in DC, everybody thinks she's running.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Everybody thinks she's running, and everybody thinks she wants that rematch. I mean, who do Democrats go and pull out? I mean, there are other people. Jim Marshall's still around.
Sure. Jason Carter, is still there, and I mean, that was several years ago now, but he put up a good fight. I think he acquitted himself well in an era when nobody, the deck was stacked against him. The landscape's a lot more favorable for Democrats now than it was when he ran before.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, a lot of folks expect that Senator Elena Parent is going to run for lieutenant governor. Does she decide, hey, the field's wide open, I'm already starting to build a statewide organization, why not take a shot?
I was going to mention
her.
Yeah, I was going to mention Elena Parent, because she seems to be someone who does have high, ambitions.
Yeah,
and she's moved up pretty rapidly in Democratic circles in Georgia.
Yeah.
Stacey Evans is another good one to mention.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's but as far as the rest of it goes, I mean, who else is out there? I mean, they have statewide candidates now for sure. But the statewide candidates they have now have no name recognition.
Right. I mean, Jen Jordan, the senator from North Fulton, obviously gained a measure of national prominence with her opposition to Georgia's abortion bill, but she seems pretty invested in the attorney general's race. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about campaign disclosures, she acquitted herself well there thus far. Yes, I mean, it would be. I mean, she could pivot, but you start to reach a point of no return where, man, I'm already invested in this, and I'm just going to keep on going.
Yeah, and there's also a measure of significance related to Stacey Abrams being a Black female.
Yes.
That is significant in and of itself.
Notice none of the names that we've talked about are African Americans, male or female.
That's right.
I mean, I can't see. I mean, Kasim Reed's running for mayor of Atlanta again. Ha ha ha. I can't. I don't think he's a credible. Keisha Lance Bottoms is out, no longer a credible statewide candidate. I mean, wow. I mean, I think when Insider Advantage is very kind when they say the water's muddy for the Democrats. I think it's bordering on full on panic if this is really true.
Yeah, if this is really true. And again, I want to say, like, I'll believe it when I see it. I don't buy it, but it is enough to make you think.
Well, I guess what makes me think, and why I jumped out and predicted she wouldn't run rather, is she has a lot to lose. She's got this nationwide following. She can appear on national television anytime she wants. Heck, she's nominated for an Emmy Award. And she, for, I guess, in two different ways, or productions she was involved in, or nominated for that. If she runs again and loses again to, I love Brian Kemp. I'm just saying, to what all of her friends and supporters think with this hick riding around Georgia in a pickup truck. She loses twice to that guy. I mean, that's a huge blow to her national brand.
I mean, it's a huge blow to her national brand, but it also is another opportunity for her, saying that SB 202 cost Democrats the governor's seat in Georgia, and it cost them down ballot, because if she loses, you got to assume everybody else down ballot's going to lose. I mean, it changes the calculus certainly on a lot of my predictions, that if she doesn't run, like, because I've predicted that maybe Republicans won't lose down ballot, but like I've thought everything's going to be pretty even more competitive.
Yeah, no doubt. And look, to Stacey Abrams' credit, and this benefited Democrats and Joe Biden here in Georgia. She built an impressive machine that flat out knows how to get folks to the polls. So I guess does that machine exist for candidate X who runs for governor?
Yeah.
Or is that more of a Stacey Abrams machine?
Well, with Fair Fight sitting on $25 million, raising almost $6 million in an off election year. Granted, there was legislative activity that boosted their coffers for sure. In the form of SB 202.
Sure.
But that's notable. And that, I mean, they're going to raise more, and next year it's going to heat up more. They're going to raise more money off SB 202 going into next year. They're going to build up a sizable war chest to go in and spend. Yeah. And it's notable. It's also notable because if you look at the party fundraising, how much Democrats had in the bank as of June 30th, the state party itself, I mean, their cash on hand was just under $600,000. Fair Fight Action is basically the Democratic Party.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess we have to remember that, I mean, the top of the ticket is going to be the Senate race. I mean, the governor's race obviously is big.
Right.
Raphael Warnock for Democrats will be a huge draw to the poll. Protecting his seat, getting him reelected will be an incredible draw for Georgia. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, the national network that Democrats have for fundraising may end up just being directed at him and not the governor's mansion in Georgia or down ballot races in Georgia, like it would have if it's Warnock and Stacey Abrams running as a tandem.
There will be. I mean, I think the vacuum comment by Insider Advantage is pretty accurate in the sense that it's going to take a lot of enthusiasm out of the midterm or out of Georgia's constitutional elections. So I don't know, it's pretty interesting. But while we're on the topic of candidates, there has been Buzz and I have been working diligently on this for the past couple of days, trying to put together a spreadsheet that will eventually be shared on Peach Pundit of candidate filing. We have scoured through campaign filings. We did this so you wouldn't have to see who's raising
You're welcome,
what.
America.
You're welcome, America. Who's raising what? How much they're raising. We don't track it like where it's coming from, but you can go do that yourself. But we're giving you the top line numbers, and I don't know. I mean, looking at this, I guess there's not a ton of surprise. I mean, there's a couple surprises, but there's not a ton of them. The first thing, Brian Kemp raises almost $4 million That's notable. He's sitting on almost 12 million in the bank right now, which is a sizable war chest. His opponents right now, there is no Democratic opponent, at least not one who had filed as of the time we went on air.
Right.
But you got one guy who had filed, Jerry Timms, who has not. Well, he had signed a declaration of intent to run, but has not filed any campaign paperwork. You have Candace Taylor, who reported raising $36,000 and is sitting on just under $3,000.
Right.
And then you have Vernon Jones, and Vernon Jones. I mean, look, he raised $626,684.05.
Yeah,
it's not bad.
Not bad.
I mean, I think that would put him in terms of total candidates who had filed based on the spreadsheet I'm looking at number 3 in terms of total fundraising, just behind Jen Jordan.
Yeah.
And he received a lot of campaign contributions under $100 that don't have to be itemized. That's pretty impressive. But he is spending a ton of money.
Yes. Yes.
You went in and did the burn rates for everybody that I hadn't seen. I didn't do that. You did that. Vernon Jones has spent 80% of the money he raised as of through that first filing deadline, June 30th filing deadline. He only has $125,000 cash on hand. And some of the things he's spending his money on, we're just kind of like puzzled by it. We were talking about it before we hit record. Vernon Jones, I don't have it pulled up here right in front of me right now, but Vernon Jones spent like almost $200,000 on Win Red, which is Republicans' version of Act Blue, which is like a fee processing or a fundraising processing platform.
That's a hefty fee.
I say almost 200,000. I think it was like closer to 180. But that's a hefty fee. Yeah. And then he spent.
I mean, is that payments for future services included in that? I don't know. It's weird prepayments. I don't know, but that's a heck of a lot of money.
It's a heck of a lot of money. He also spent money on just looking through the campaign disclosure. There are several payments to someone for transportation. The occupation of this individual is a limousine driver, which I found very interesting. And this was within just a couple of minutes of us looking through the campaign. It's like, I wonder what else is here.
Well, Greg Bluestein made note of a purchase of a number of My Pillow pillows. Vernon Jones apparently said this was part of a campaign stunt to mock Brian Kemp somehow. So I don't know. Maybe he rode over in the limousine numerous times to try to see the governor and to deliver these pillows to him. I don't know.
One interesting line item here is $5,000 paid to one Bernard Carrick.
Yeah, I would expect that that's an appearance fee, because Carrick was down here at least. Well, for Vernon's announcement, Carrick was there. I don't know if he's made any other campaign appearances on his behalf, but
it says here it's a campaign consultant, or it says consultant.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Campaigns consultant check. That's
all
what
right.
It says here. I mean, this is some pretty interesting spending that we're finding here. I wonder if there were anything else in here for Carrick. Now I'm really curious. just that one. And so, but 80% burn rate. He has roughly $165,000 in the bank right now. That's not a good place to be going into.
No, that's spending. That's, I may have said this before, but I remember I was helping Marco Rubio's campaign. His campaign manager was meeting with us and said, the candidates run out of money long before they run out of ideas. Yeah. And if you're going to spend 80% of your money, I mean, we're a year away. I guess, next March is when the Republican primary will really heat up.
Right.
But you shouldn't be. It's not a good sign for a candidate to be spending at that rate when nobody's paying attention.
No, it's really not. And so I misspoke. It's 125,000 in the bank right now. But
even worse.
Yeah. So just looking at other, so we haven't really had many interesting. So with Jeff Duncan not running, there is not much there to report in terms of lieutenant governor. But we would note that Duncan reported a $910 raise, but he's he's leaving office, at least on this, according to this filing, with $827,000 sitting in the bank. So
that's a lot of dough.
It's a lot of cash. But
there's been, I'd have to, maybe one of our listeners is an expert on campaign finance, but I mean, there are things he can sit on that. He can convert that into a PAC. There are some things he can do with that. Obviously, he can't spend it personally, but right. For a Jeff Duncan who, we all know does not necessarily, just because he's not running again doesn't mean he's exiting the political scene. That's money that can be helpful to him at some point in time.
Yeah, no, it could be. I mean, Butch Miller hasn't filed anything yet. Looking further down ballot, Jen Jordan, impressive fundraising haul, $673,000.
And notice she spent a little less than 10% of her money.
Yeah,
so Vernon should take some lessons there.
Yeah, it should take some lessons. And Chris Carr should also take note. I mean, he did have a equally impressive, well, not equally impressive, but also an impressive haul. He's $574,000 raised. He's sitting on $1 million right now in the bank, just over $1 million. But burn rate's 36%, and he's going to have to raise a lot more money because Jen Jordan's going to be a strong candidate.
Well funded.
Now we had said we weren't going to talk about Brad Raffensperger much because we had talked about him so much early on, but we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the Secretary of State's race. Given that you have 3 Republicans and as well as one Democrat, B. Nguyen, running in that race. Raffensperger, not the best fundraising haul.
Yeah, and look, as a guy who's, I mean, it's tough to raise money in that race. I know firsthand. There are a number of people who cannot contribute or who are prohibited from contributing to that race, and I hope Jody Hyson. I mean, David Belle-Isle knows full well because he's been down this road. But Jody Hyson, B. Wynn need to be careful. They can't just take checks from anybody. But it's Brad. I mean, look, Brad. First time around, Brad relied in large part on his personal wealth, which is considerable, and he might have to do that again.
Yeah, he already put in $50,000 for his campaign, and he raised $249,000. And I mean, yeah, he's he's sitting on 274, almost 275. But Jody Heiss raised 575,000. It's impressive. He's got a little over $500,000 in the bank. His burn rate's relatively small. Raffensperger's burn rate 63%.
And I think again we need to dig into this some more because for candidates like Brad and the Governor Kemp, there's money, there's data carried over from previous periods. So it's hard to really it's hard to really know what he spent immediately. So
sure. I mean, but I mean it's I don't know. I mean he raised 249, almost 250. He spent almost 275.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Excuse me. Yeah, sorry. His cash on hand. How much did he spend? He spent 61,000. Maybe I'm
in this period. No, I think you're right. During this period, he spent 61 grand.
Yes, yeah. So he spent 61 grand. So yeah, we'd have to go back and we'd have to further parse out the data. But and then David Belle-Isle, 165,000 give or take. Sitting on 100,000. But looking further down ballot, I mean, there's a couple races here that nobody's really paying a lot of attention to. Tyler Harper, Commissioner of Agriculture, he gave himself a $501 loan, or $501,000 loan, I should say. And he is, I mean, he and
his family have been very successful.
Bruce Thompson put in $150,000 in his campaign, so he's sitting on a healthy sum as well. One interesting thing here is the state school superintendent's race. Richard Woods, who reports $125 in contributions and has the worst the worst burn rate of any candidate, 92%. And I'm wondering if he's running for re-election.
That's a good question. He does have an opponent. I forget the gentleman's name. It's a superintendent from, I may have this wrong, it's Spalding County, perhaps.
Yeah.
Kind of that part of Georgia. And so we haven't heard any rumors, but it's possible. This would be, he's been there for this is his third term.
I think so.
Yeah. This is wrapping up his third term. That's a long time. 12 years in one position is a long time.
Right.
So it wouldn't be shocking to hear him say he's not running again.
No, it wouldn't be, but that caught my eye when I was looking at it. So
that's another race that's tough to raise money for.
I was going to say, I realized that is not one that a lot of people pay attention to,
right.
But it's still an important one. And it's just, that's just notable, but we'll be adding to this, and hopefully at some point in time we'll make it public.
And federal candidates, I believe the FEC deadline is the 15th.
Yeah, tomorrow.
So there's not a lot of data in there yet. I was looking. I know you were too, Jason. Looking.
Yeah.
Not a lot of data in there yet. So.
Yeah, and the few candidates who have filed aren't really reporting a ton of money. So, and I'm not entirely sure the way I have this set up is the way I want it to look when it's all said and done. But it's, I don't know. This is it's going to be an interesting cycle, and it's already becoming an interesting cycle, because we had some more candidates declare in Georgia 6. So we had Meagan Hanson, who announced on Monday that she was running for the Republican nomination in the 6th district. The yet to be redrawn 6th district.
Right.
And then we also, the next day, we had Jake Evans, who is the chair of the Georgia Ethics Commission, has also said he is running, and rolled out
son of longtime GOP stalwart Randy Evans.
I did not know that.
Yes.
So I actually wondered, but I wasn't sure. And we also have Harold Earls and Susie Boyles, who are also running in that race. There's other candidates who have filed on the FEC who appear to be relatively unknown candidates. But neither Harold or Earls or Susie Boyles had filed any FEC paperwork as of record time for this podcast. But I'm wondering what Republicans expect in this race, in this seat, because I think a lot of people are making the assumption that Carol Bordeaux is going to be the sacrificial lamb, and that McBath is going to be given a more Democratic district during redistricting because.
Yeah, and that is interesting. I mean, you have all those candidates who announced their intention to run against McBath. You only have Richard McCormick, who lost to Bordeaux just last year, as far as I know, is the only person who has declared an intention to challenge her again.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, excuse me, going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. I mean, Meagan Hanson was state representative for a couple of terms. She knocked off Democrat. His name slipped my mind. Taylor, who I can't remember his first name. He was a quarterback at Georgia Tech.
Is it Taylor Bennett or Bennett?
Taylor Bennett.
Taylor
yes.
Bennett. Yeah.
Taylor Bennett. Yes, she knocked off.
How
Taylor
do I
Bennett.
know that and you don't?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know. That was a sad moment, and I'm sure I'll hear from Tech alums everywhere. But
did you serve with him?
I did for one term. Yes, served with Taylor Bennett for one term. He's pals with Calvin Johnson, the great Hall of Fame receiver. So Taylor actually it was fun to serve with Taylor. He's a good guy. Just polar opposites politically, but good dude. And so anyway, Meagan Hanson beat him, and then a couple years later, she lost to Matthew Wilson, who's now off running for. What's he run? He's running for labor commissioner. No.
Yeah.
Department of Insurance.
Insurance. Yeah. And I would be remiss also if I didn't mention that former Governor Deal has endorsed Gary Black for U.S. Senate in a campaign, in a tweet video that was put out by Black's campaign, I believe on Monday or Tuesday. So that is out there.
And also of note, got an email, campaign email from Buddy Carter. with a pretty snazzy little video or attempt to be snazzy video. You might have seen it where he's up at the bat, where he's knocking the liberals left and right, and their baseballs around, and didn't look like a. I mean, we've talked, and Jason, you've been the one who's been reporting that everybody in Washington anticipates that he's just waiting on Herschel to announce his intentions, and it kind of looks like Buddy's gearing up to go.
Yeah, that's what I've been told by multiple people, is that they're just kind of waiting to see. They're just on hold waiting to see what Herschel's going to do. But one thing I'll note real fast. So this video comes out. Deal calls. He says he's known Gary for 20 years. We worked together for the entire time that I was governor. He's done a great job representing everyone in our state. That's the kind of leadership that we need in Washington. And I look here on Twitter. I clicked on the link, and it brings me to the video. And then the tweet under it says more tweets from 9 hours ago. Mike Collins, who's running in Georgia 10.
Yeah.
The tweet says, "I promise to do a push-up for every 10,000 we collected during our first quarter. I'm a few push-ups short, but I can't thank you all enough for getting us a strong position to hashtag overhaul, or to help hashtag overhaul DC and get back to hashtag America first." And it's a minute 18 long video, and he's doing push-ups.
Hey. So you might remember when Mike Collins ran before, he had a video that was sort of I might have this wrong. Was it a knockoff of a Chuck Norris?
The trucks.
Yes. Yeah. Mike's on the truck. He's in the trucking business, and he's it's kind of impressive. So he's not quite Chuck Norris level, but who is? But
he is not Chuck Norris level at all. I think I feel like there's a topic I'm missing, and I can't find where. Yeah. So a potential new candidate who may enter the fray against Governor Brian Kemp, a man by the name of Ames Barnett, who the AJC describes as a wealthy businessman and former small town mayor.
Yeah.
And the AJC has a tweet from presumably CPAC in Dallas, the Conservative Political Action Conference, that was posted on Mr. Barnett's Twitter account yesterday, of him, his wife, and former President Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So pretty interesting development. I've never heard of this person before. But one thing the AJC story does note, they point back to a separate story from the Washington Post about politics in Washington, Georgia, and Mr. Barnett's narrow victory when he was the mayor of Washington, Georgia, that he has a home that is designed as a replica of the mansion that Jefferson Davis lived in Mississippi, which is not. With race playing such a forefront in politics right now.
Right.
I'm really sure this is a bad idea that you run for anything that's not in a small town where that sort of thing is, for some godforsaken reason, would be considered unacceptable.
Yeah, and I guess the AJC also notes that he cast the deciding vote as mayor to shut down the police department there in Washington. Which Washington's not a very big town. It's not uncommon, I suppose, for little towns to sometimes decide that they'd rather just rely on the county to provide law enforcement. But in an era when Republicans are against defunding the police, this guy, not only did he defund the police, he shut them down.
Yeah.
But I got polled back in late June, and I didn't know who this poll came from, but it listed a number of candidates for governor.
Push poll.
Yeah. Now it's a push poll, and it was likely a poll for Barnett, because it asked about him. And it asked about a technology person who I Googled the name and never found a person of that name in Atlanta or Georgia. But yeah, it then went on to ask if Ames Barnett ran for governor, would you, and had Trump's endorsement, would you be really excited about that, and trying to gauge your level of excitement about that. So
I take it you're not excited.
Here we are.
I take it you're not excited.
Not really. I mean, I guess what strikes me is, again, if you're Brian Kemp, it appears that Mr. Barnett, successful businessman, may have some money, may be willing to put some of his own money in the race, and that may make him. But it further divides. Now you have Vernon Jones, who right now, a lot of the diehard Trump folks are lining up behind him, anticipating that he's going to get. He's begging for Trump's vote. What Rudy Giuliani came down and campaigned for him. You mentioned Bernard Kerik, who was another person tight, well revered in the Trump world. Vernon's trying to attract all the Trump world around him. The more candidates that get out there and run, the more that the anti-Kemp vote is divided.
Right.
And so I think more of heaven smiling upon Brian Kemp and making greasing the path for him. Won't be easy. He'll have to work hard, but it's just the deck appeared stacked against him, and it's. I mean, if you're Brian Kemp, man, this is great.
Yeah, no,
let
for
them
sure.
all run.
Yeah. And I guess finally here, some lighthearted discussion before Buzz and I take off. Lin Wood, bless his heart, fresh off his unsuccessful bid for South Carolina Republican Party chair, is now facing a lot of questions about his being able to continue to serve or work as a lawyer or as an attorney. Not just him, but Sidney Powell for that matter as well. He looks like, I saw tweets about this yesterday, I think, and I didn't get a chance to really read them in any detail, but based on everything I saw, it was just it was hilarity in the courts. Just the judge who was overseeing this proceeding really did not spare any browbeating at both Wood or Powell.
She's not amused, was she?
No.
Yeah, I read an article in the London Daily Mail, and it appears that Lin Wood's line of defense right now is to say this was all Sidney Powell. I had nothing to do with any of this.
Okay, well, that's adorable. It's not true, but it's adorable.
I think that the quote that so the headline. I mean, you got to love the Daily Mail. It's a tabloid.
Right.
Trump lawyer Lin Wood blames Kraken attorney Sidney Powell for dragging him into election fraud lawsuit, and insists he had no involvement in legal complaint.
I'm sorry. All I can hear is Dominion getting that judgment that they want so bad.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Right. I cannot hear you over the sound of Dominion winning their lawsuit.
Yes.
It's just such a and the fact that people so blindly went along with this nonsense.
Yep.
I think it was Erickson who kept commenting that he was like a lifelong Democrat, like he'd given money to Democrats.
Yeah.
And like Republicans bought it hook, line, and sinker because I mean it's the biggest. It's like Vernon Jones. It's a grift. It's all a grift.
Yeah.
And if they're, oh God, if you're a grassroots conservative Republican who's listening to this podcast right now, I implore you to start looking like. But please, dear God, just don't blindly go along with people who just say they're MAGA. Like you can't. Because this is how stupid stuff happens.
Yeah, absolutely. You're exactly right. And and I briefly tried when Vernon switched parties. I briefly tried to talk to some Republicans and say, listen, okay, fine. You want to welcome anybody in the GOP that you want to, fine. Don't trust this guy. and I got shouted down. He's for Trump. He's for Trump. And that was the only criteria in some of these folks' minds. And that's the same thing when Lin Wood. He's for Trump. He's out there fighting for Trump, and doesn't matter what he says or does. And of course, I mean, I guess we should note, we mentioned briefly this other candidate, Republican candidate for governor, Candace Taylor. She just accepted the endorsement of Lin Wood for her gubernatorial campaign, and Lin's coming to Georgia to host an event for her. So, he in order to, I mean, now, with the judge dragging Powell and Wood into court, that you're finding out what's really gone on, and even Lin Wood and Sidney Powell's even admitted this in various times. Sidney Powell's claim was, if you believed what I said, the ridiculous falsehoods I said, that's your fault. And now Powell is saying I had nothing to do. Lin Wood is saying I had nothing to do with this.
So I bought.
So they didn't believe a word that they said.
So I bought 2 new books yesterday, and I pre-ordered another one that are all about the election. So this one is the one I started reading before the podcast.
That's on my list. I want to get that one.
Yeah, I'll let you borrow it if you want to. I mean, because I have this one. I got another one which I swear I thought was in my office, but I can't seem to find it anywhere. And then I got one that's coming out on July 20th. So, and I'll be in DC, unfortunately, when it comes, but I was going to pull up the name for it on Amazon real fast, but it's taking forever to load. Thank you, FCC. But I'm really looking forward to reading these, because I don't know. I want to know what was going through their heads. So this one, Landslide, the Final Days of the Trump Presidency. And I also bought I Alone Can Fix It, Donald J. Trump's Catastrophic Final Year. So that one's coming out on Tuesday. So yeah, I'm really excited to read these. And I'm not I'm not like I was 10 years ago, where I was a pretty avid book reader. Professionally, my life took me away from books. Right. But I just read John Boehner's autobiography, or his memoirs, I should say.
How was that?
Yeah, it was actually really good. It was, because I think that's because, like, those are the types of books I get into. I mean, there are some books I've read that are fiction, and I'll read them. They're just captivating. They're good. But it's been a while since I found a book like that. I think the last, and this is stupid, but the last fiction book I read that like really kind of took me in was World War Z. Because it's just it's nothing like the movie, and I read it before the movie ever came out, but it was really good. But like political nonfiction, storytelling, like this is what happened to these these big events. That fascinates me, and that's the stuff I tend to find myself reading. So
I've read a couple articles, kind of some excerpts of that book that you just bought.
Yeah,
frankly, I did win the election. I love the title.
I will let you borrow it when I'm done.
Yeah,
I will let you borrow it when I'm done. You're the first in line for this one, but I got somebody else who wants to borrow the other one first. So I'll read this one. I'll let you borrow it, and then we can go from there. But anyway, we're out of time, folks. Enjoy the rest of your week. I hope that we'll have a podcast next week. I'm in DC, and I do not know what that looks like right now. So next week at least. Buzz, it's good seeing you, Scott.
Yeah.
If you're listening or watching, and we wish you well, and wish the family well. Yep. And well, you're in our thoughts, and I'm sure you're in Buzz's prayers. So folks, the rest of you, enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you soon.
See ya.